Thank you, Rubu, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paladins Minor League. With our fourth matchup of the day, we have Nation of Power versus BOORK, and I have Gormizer next to me here on the desk. We have a fun one here at the end of the day. Some interesting team swaps going on. Downfall obviously changing Nation of Power. So Nation of Power now is going to be made up of a pretty good set of individuals who will look to come together as a new team and really perform well. They had the number 2 spot here in North America, looking to continue that here today.
I mean, you'll recognize Jay, Tay, and T-Mac as they are coming back through.
Right.
And you'll recognize the other two, just not typically on this team. It's Stigma and Poison, who were, missing from that last set. But being able to come in, Stigma has actually been a player, again, that kind of caught my eyes specifically for this split. I feel like until this year, if I had heard of him, like, his name is unfamiliar, right? I don't remember anything from 2018, from anything earlier. So him coming in as explosive as he has been is amazing. And Poison has been around. He's been dancing back and forth. He is a phenomenal player, so being able to see them maybe more comfortable here on Nation of Power is going to be very interesting.
Absolutely, but going up against them, they have BOORK today, and BOORK coming off a big win last week. They played very well last week, so really finding their footing as a team, maybe making some tweaks on the backside, sort of off camera, off scrim, and actually looked pretty good last week. You have Bitey at the helm, and you have Vayne, Aspect, Ancient, and Toa kind of rounding out the lineup there, and they actually showed last week they could be formidable.
And throughout all of it was actually Ancient that kind of caught my eye, I think, the most. Obviously, the rest of these players, in my mind, have been around for a while. They've been bouncing back and forth, whether they've been on Premier League teams, whether they've been on what was formerly the Global Series, or any of those, they've had their impact, right? Ancient was the one that was a long time ago. He was playing the game, and he was able to come in, play these kind of off-tanks, these aggressive frontliners as the side for his team, and make a very big difference. In a couple of those highlights, you got to see Vayne, who I think with Ancient and Vayne working in tandem, there's a lot of pressure to be bought just in the front line. And
that was something I was going to bring up, actually. We saw some Tay highlights as well on the side of Nation of Power. You actually have 3 or 4 frontline-esque players in this game who are actually well known for making a big difference, in the sense that, you get a Makoa like Tay, who's really feeling himself, really performing. That's a huge difference maker in a game. You have Ancient and Vayne on the other side as well, certainly capable of making the same frontline impact. Stonekeep is going to be map number 1 here to start off set number 4. Torvald's going to get taken away here. You imagine you'll see more of the Genos meta coming out to play here in set number 4. Ashe actually getting taken off the board, I believe the first Ashe ban today. Cassie as well, though, and that's been kind of the 1-2 ban that we've seen a little bit more of is the Torvald paired with the Cassie, or the Makoa paired with the Cassie. We've seen a lot of second ban Cassies coming out for some teams today, just deciding they don't really want to deal with it.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know if you could get something better than, hey, we're going to go ahead and get Makoa, because, I mean, I like the bans from BOORK, because Jay specifically loves playing Inara. Tay specifically loves playing, I would say, flexing between Khan and Ashe. So BOORK being able to grab Khan is another kind of takeaway. But Makoa's an incredibly good front line. And you get rid of Cassie, who is one of the #1 Makoa killers. So it makes it really, really good just as a start for one pick for Nation of Power.
Absolutely. Khan Barrack, though, certainly a good 1-2 stack here starting out for BOORK. There's the Genos that we've been looking for coming out for Nation of Power. So the question is, what do you pair it with? The Cassie's gone. They grabbed the Fernando, so not super telling as far as what their offensive presence is going to be. BOORK, though, looking for a healer, looking for some damage dealers here. Their front lines are all wrapped up, so they're going to have to show their hand a little bit as far as what types of damage dealers they're going to look for. The Damba is going to be their healer of choice, with a couple damage dealers to round out their top 5. It's going to be the Tyra, so answering back the Genos maybe a little bit.
And being able to find a little bit of damage amp, plus it leaves them open for that flexibility at the end, right? Where do you want to go with your draft? They might not know quite yet because, like you said, Nation of Power kind of kept everything hidden. They didn't lock in any of those DPS until right now. Pip comes through. So, again, and at least in my mind, nothing immediately comes to my head as, hey, that counters Pip. But you can at least deal with him. The same thing with Victor. Nothing's an immediate direct counter, but there's things that you can pick up to deal with it. And Vivian, I mean,
double hit
take a note from the console board. I was going to say, just like take the notes.
Well, interesting. So you got the Tyra Vivian on one side. You got the Pip Victor on the other side with the Genos as well. What do you look at on either side here? Do you give it to one team early on off the draft?
I'm looking at Tyra and Vivian together. Having the Hunter's Mark plus the ability to blow up shields the way Vivian does makes it pretty easy to burn down some of the front lines on Nation of Power.
Well, certainly going to be a fun one to watch. Nation of Power looking to get their first win under the new name. BOORK looking to go back-to-back weeks. But to tell us all about it, we'll send it down to Evan and Nick in the booth.
Thanks, Dave. Nick, how you feel about these drafts?
I think it's a big thing for Tay if he can take this power pick Makoa and not get exploded by the Tyra Vivian here, as well as Khan and Barrack, right? There's a lot of damage coming out his way, and so playing appropriately around the amount of damage amp is going to be important for him to stay impactful.
This pip for Poison, and of course Stigma being able to operate here is going to be a huge part of their success. These are the players that we've been looking at. Bitey trying to get some dismounts, and he does get some decent damage.
Cool skin.
Rocking the new skin, so
I like it.
Making use of that. And trying to shed through the shields, absolutely. He's going into Opportunity and Chaos. So really his plan is to stay here and do this. This is what he wants to do. This is how he's succeeding. And it has forced them off the high ground. Great little strategy there.
Gun is nice and quieter, too. It's not as obnoxious. Does take away from my Vivian play-by-play strategy a little bit, which I'm not a huge fan of, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But this gun looks like it could be a little V1K Tor scenario where it just looks objectively better to play with.
But I mean, doesn't that movement there kind of mess you up a little bit?
I don't know. I like the Iron Sight. The Iron Sight, it's almost like when you like jiggle a rooster and its head stays perfectly still. You ever seen that on YouTube? Somebody's like moving a rooster around. It's got like the perfect like gyroscopic head.
Oh man, I didn't know that. I gotta check up on my rooster.
You know, like when you jiggle a rooster. You know,
you know when you jiggle a rooster.
That's today's.
How to know you're from Georgia.
That's today's broadcast statement.
Yeah, that's quote of the day right there. Quote of the day for sure.
Love it.
Sign me up. BOORK here actually doing a really good job of holding on to this point, but now they have been a little overwhelmed. How long can this Vivian strategy actually work? A couple of headshots here from Stigma.
Wow.
That is a lot of damage, and so he is absolutely done enough for his team to kind of turn things around. Toa, he's going to fall to that, and Bitey, how long can he keep on firing? He's now in a really bad spot and going to get aggressed on by Poison here.
Yelling till he's blue in the face here, and the triple hit scan's way out in front of the damage charts here. Victor, the tune of 31K. Bitey kind of hold control of the keep here. Makoa here. Fight against the Sentinels. Big Fear comes out as well. It's a lot of damage, and there it is. Jay will fall.
That's a great Fear, and that pops out what Fernando was trying to do there, but Tay able to get out and get back in, but no one's aggressed on Bitey. I thought this was a missed opportunity for Poison. They backed off and played it safe, but I think that was the most dangerous thing there. Bitey stays alive, and this Vivian is what has been supporting this squad. Incredible stuff. Great management, and BOORK take point number one against Nation of Power.
Where's the credit for that right shoulder Sentinel, Evan? I'm just
That's true.
It's so funny to watch just one of them just like barely alive, coughing damage out when it can. Shout outs to the right shoulder Sentinel there. That's big plays for Bitey.
And yeah, good stuff as well. I mean, I really did like this. I think Poison definitely missed an opportunity there. He was full health, and Bitey was kind of on the ropes. No mobility. But he didn't want to risk it, and it ended up being an awkward trade for them towards the end. And Jay not coming close to surviving as long as he would have hoped. And this Vivian really putting a damper in on some of the shield play that he was hoping would buy him some extra time for that formidable passive. So far, so good, though, as far as the push for BOORK. They are 80% of the way through, and now going to probably get reset here. It's Aspect living just by the shield. And now Vayne will probably fall as well.
This is crazy. I mean, Pyra and a little bit of Vivian. Vivian's definitely some credit here. She does a ton of damage, but this hunting party has thrown so many frontline players off there. You can see they're just not paying their respects to Bitey, and they get shredded. He's almost completely ignored in the keep in that first point fight.
Woo! The synergy. Oh my God. Bitey is melting through an entire Ancient Rage. That was about 10,000 damage that he just earned himself, and now he activates the Sentinels. This Vivian, this Opportunity in Chaos is no joke.
Swinging for the fences here, and only 50 seconds left to get it all the way through. Big ultimate used by Nation of Power, so even if they don't get this one all the way through, it still feels like a win.
And I mean, great just ability for Longshot as well. Kind of a new name in the scene right now as far as the PML. Getting some really good support on the con. Playing this relatively defensively and giving Bitey all the room that he needs. And I love the way that they're synergizing with all this setup with the Commander's Grab and with all the Dread Serpents. They're playing into, let's just get these guys uninterrupted damage on the front lines of Nation of Power, and it's working.
I mean, right now, this Khan is by himself really distracting 3 members. Genos isn't really accomplishing too much.
That's where you go to Tay, yeah.
From the back line there. And
look at this.
Quick little overpower, and I think that'll do it, BOORK. Looks like they're going to get this one through.
They're looking the better team.
Yeah.
Like, by and large, they're just looking the better team. This is very unusual and not what we would have expected, but it's a blessing to see here. A lot of adjustments, and Bidey 70,000 damage after round 1. This is sped up, by the way.
Is that a record?
Or no, it's not. Now it is.
70K after 1 round?
That might be. It's close.
That's nuts. That's freaking nuts, dude.
That's nuts, dude.
540 on the clock.
Oh, he's got Unchecked Ambition 5. So he's got a 60% chance for each bullet to not cost ammo.
Sheesh.
And that is a card we haven't always seen.
Hitting your shots, kid.
Yeah. You're hitting your shots, kid. This is crazy.
Yeah, man. This is
I believe it counts on shields as well.
very reminiscent of day 1 Vivian, where she's getting an average of, what, 120 to 140 shots out of this clip.
Yeah. Pretty amazing
Record
stuff.
3, dude. Oh, God.
Oh, trying to get the vision, and he's got it. And, yeah, record 3 already, dude. Good luck with that. Evil Mojo happening. And the only thing about this for Bidey, I think, is he's not involved in these fights. I mean, that's the thing that I don't understand where the decision-making was. I think he's just feeling that confident. And now he's able to rotate, and you can see why. Look at this damage, dude.
It's almost as like Jay didn't even realize his shield was dead that fast. He didn't react. He didn't turn around. He didn't dash. He didn't move left. He didn't move right. He just continued to backpedal as if, like, I'm not aware that my shield could possibly be falling that quickly at 6 minutes into the game.
This is just some impressive play. And I love the way Longshot's just sticking with him. You wonder, Bidey getting low, but he's not getting out ever. And it's because Longshot is really just babysitting this Vivian. I love this Khan-Vivian matchup. Now that Genos is around, Khan-Vivian, Genos, I mean, they're not on the same team now, but if they were, that would be just deadly stuff. Great hook as well, pulling him into the fire, although that's trying to just buy time for Jay to maybe hopefully stay off this objective. BOORK 93%, but Nation of Power fighting as best as they can.
That shield just gets Swiss cheese the moment it comes up. Fernando has nothing to look at here, and, time to play with on the objective now. I was going to say I expected Bidey to just drop back down there, but he's like, I got time. I'm going to make sure that nobody is, pushing my high ground too much. They don't have anything to dive this. I mean, they got Victor.
This is crazy, and I love it.
That's Luminary, right? Luminary Mega Potion?
Luminary Mega Potion. Is it Mega Potion?
It is Mega Potion. I know that for sure.
Whoa, yeah, I guess it is. Wow, I did not. So
it's like, where's this damage coming from?
Oh, I get it. I completely get it, and now I know why he didn't take that fight with Bidey, and I'm like, oh my God, I was under the assumption, and I've just been so focused on the Vivian this game that, yeah, I mean, there's talent issues, but there's also just the fact that this is absolutely making Fernando useless.
It's sometimes comes down to Bidey. That maybe it is just the left hook of Vivian, not expecting Vivian to come through, but
yeah,
that's what Bidey loves. He loves his ARs. He loves his classic shooter experience. He's getting up there in years nowadays, and he likes to do it the old way. Feared off the high ground. Makoa's got to find a new way to be effective.
But I mean, that's perfect. That's all you got. Now you have the high ground exposed. Vayne gonna try and rocket boots away. Good Void Grip. Great hook as well from Tay. He even hits the shot, and then hits the shot after the shot to continue doing all of the things that he wants. Toa as well being a little bit ignored, I think, for the situation of the fact that Nation of Power now having so many threats to deal with that it's very, very hard.
His Battle Shout's going to sustain him for a little while longer. Damage on the shield. It is going to collapse, but the homies are here. The police.
This could be it.
Is very concerned about this Genos and about the objective right now.
They backdoored, essentially.
They're not losing people in that dive either, so everything going their way. Stigma takes down Bidey, and that might be the saving grace.
Now, can he defend against 4 people? I'm not sure that's going to be possible. Aspect tries to hit him with the stun.
Overpower's ready. Dome shield.
You got to watch out for this, especially with Vayne still on the point. That dome shield is going to make sure anybody who steps in is going to get hurt, but the payload is blocking line of sight of the fire turret, which is, I guess, the saving grace for Nation of Power. They got the new roster, Nick, but this roster's about to lose to BOORK 4-0.
Okay, all right. had a couple people, I think Dave and I picked BOORK to win this set, dude. This could be it. This is Bitey's moment, this rise to power of the iron fist of Vivian. I love it.
I wish he was streaming these games so we could see his
man.
reaction.
Wouldn't
across
that be
all.
special?
That'd be so amazing. Well, that's it. BOORK take a 4-0 over one of the top-seeded teams in North America. It's not a joke. This is not a drill. Let's send it back to the desk and break this down.
BOORK certainly came to play here today. I did pick BOORK to win this matchup, mainly because I just love their logo so much. I just can never bet against it. But showing me that I should never bet against them here in map number 1, going up 4-0, and the Bitey Vivian was a huge difference maker in that one.
If you had told me after week 1 that North America was going to be a lot more contested than Europe, I would have laughed in your face. I would have been like, there's no way. These teams are so far apart. Everything, like, no one's ever going to be able to beat X and Y, right? And I would have been wrong. Now we are looking at an incredibly fun North American league. I mean, look at Stigma throughout all of this. He's 11-4. He's able to do so much, but the thing he didn't do was, I guess, really just the same damage that came down from when you either look at Vayne, when you might be looking at, say, Bitey, or if you're looking at Longshot, who was on that con, who just constantly was kind of keeping Bitey going.
Right, everyone on BOORK really doing their job, and I think that's the takeaway on this one. Is, I mean, you had Bitey on the Vivian melting shields when you had Wrecker 3 up. They pointed it out, and the Fernando shield was just melting. Like it might as well not have even been there. But then you had Vayne on the Barrack doing his job, holding it down. Like you said, Longshot on the con, doing con things, whatever that may have been. And that was just a top-to-bottom, well-played game there from BOORK. I think the draft for them worked out in their favor. They drafted something I think they knew would give them a little bit of an edge. But Nation of Power now in a position where they're actually the ones who need to find a way to answer back.
And this is actually something I kind of hinted at it during the last set. When Vivian got locked in, I initially think of the console players because they love their Vivian, but I also think of Bitey now when I think of Vivian because it's been, I think it was last week, it's what he plays in his stream whenever he's practicing DPS. Like, Vivian is his go-to.
Sure.
And there's a pretty good reason why. Makes it look really solid throughout that entire map.
Well, Warder's Gate.
I never thought I would write down BOORK 4-0.
BOORK 4-0. Well, you did. You wrote it down, and it's there. It's on the page. Warder's Gate is where we're headed for map number 2. The Tyra just going to take that one away. So away she goes, potentially setting up for something fancy here. So that leaves the Genos on the board. I mean, Tyra, not really a counter to what we've seen from Genos. Genos is just too strong and too good at providing those buffs. But Tyra's kind of what we've seen to answer it. But the Vivian, Bitey, you get no more Vivian. Nation of Power take that one away as well.
It's 2019. It is not console. Vivian has been banned. That is pure respect.
That is pure Bitey respect.
That is respect for Bitey and what he was able to just do.
For good reason. I mean, he showed us that you give him the Vivian, he'll be a difference-making factor. Makoa Khan, pretty standard 1 picks for both sides. The Cassie making it out of the bans. You benefit from that when you have a Tyra Vivian ban on one side. So BOORK end up getting the Cassie. Nation of Power now in a position to answer back with a little something on their side, potentially going the Genos. He's around. They end up going with the Damba on this side. So maybe leaving BOORK with the Genos, but we'll have to see. Getting their second pick, or excuse me, their third pick here. It is going to be the Barrack. We saw a lot of impact coming out from the Barrack on the opposite side last time, so looking to find some impact on their own.
I'm actually kind of surprised to see that get picked up over the Inara, which is something that I feel like Nation of Power have favored in the past weeks. Again, that's when I'm thinking of Jay, I feel like I've seen him play very specific frontline champions, and Inara is the majority of those. And I love the way they do this, although not going for the Genos, no damage amp whatsoever for BOORK. Unless they are going to go some really crazy, like, Ferocity Grover, where they get the axe damage and they put a Luminary Genos. I don't think we're going to see that. I think this is going to be something specific for Warder's Gate.
Kinessa, though, giving that to Stigma, certainly a guy you have to watch out for on that champion. Grover is going to be the 7th. I'm trying to do quick math. I can't do it. He's going to be a later pick in this draft, which is pretty interesting. The Zen comes out. Haven't seen him too much today. Seen some success from him, but pretty good drafts, I think, for both sides. I think both teams will be happy with what they've set up here.
And it is very standard. This is the quintessential. We're just going to slam into each other, and whoever comes out on top comes out on top.
Well, sounds like it's a game of attrition for us here. Nation of Power looking to answer back. BOORK looking to make it 2-0. One step closer to 2 weeks in a row. Waters Gate is where we're headed. Your casters, Nick and Evan, are going to take it away.
Yeah, we are. We certainly are, Dave. And
It's ours now, and you'll never see it again.
You'll never see it again. Unless you bring me the money I asked for. 5 Paladins crystals. You know, one of our friends actually made a bunch of those and brought them to HRX last year. Actually, no, he gave them out to a bunch of people at work. And I have a few. This was before we even moved into this building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know him.
I do.
Yes. And I don't know where those crystals are. But I guess someone, if they gave me those.
I had one, but as you might imagine,
You don't have it anymore.
Hard lost it.
You hard lost that, yeah. Whoa! Just like Bitey hard lost his head.
idiot.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. This is Bitey we're talking about. It's the coach. Show some respect. Great shot, though. And Stigma seems to be right back where he wants. And they have something to prove here, Nick. That was not the way Nation of Power wanted to introduce their new roster to the world. It's kind of like Cotillion, or what's that thing where the women get introduced? Like it's like a classical thing of like when you're 16, you get introduced officially to society.
Like quinceañera?
No,
I don't know.
Somebody knows what I'm talking about, but you know, and you have to take a.
Is that like an old school thing?
No, obviously it's like it's an old school tradition thing, but anyways, it's like that going wrong. But that took too long to really make a reference about.
Sorry to not be there for you. In
Yeah,
your
it's
time
all
of
right.
need.
It's all right.
I've never been a 16-year-old girl introduced to society, contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, I mean, you could have fooled me. Show me a couple pictures with that long hair. I mean, hey.
Well, as Vox would put it, Stigma doesn't leave a lot of room for mechanical outplay for his opponents here on this Kinessa.
That is something Vox would say.
A much more comfortable draft, I guess, here. Looking very, very strong. Nation of Power. When their tanks aren't getting obliterated and they actually have people that can move around the map and get involved in these fights, that was the big thing. It's just a Victor. Who else is doing damage on that comp?
Right.
I think they counted on a lot more tank damage last game. They just didn't give him to him. And a very tailored response with the Tyra Vivian ban in this game, too.
And I think the other thing, too, is that, all right, they've gotten this first point, but one of the things that, you know, obviously BOORK have going for them is Bitey. One of the things Nation of Power have going for them is these mechanically gifted players. But no one's been at that level that Bitey has. Bitey's exceeded all of the levels that everyone in this league right now has, and they're trying to get back to potentially. Now, one of the things I thought that not only that lineup with Vivian worked, but it felt like they just had no idea how to attack that map. And maybe with this new team, you know, Stonekeep, they haven't figured it quite out yet, especially against that Vivian. I wonder if BOORK will be able to make a better adjustment than Nation of Power did last round.
That was a very far-fetched, almost downright strange game one. Those drafts were anything but standard. The way the game was played was anything but standard. And this is feeling a little bit more in the norm, in the swing of things. 0-4, 1-4, tough start here for BOORK. Coming off such a hot game number 1, too. This is hard to adjust to when you're not in the mindset of losing and needing to make adjustments, but clearly they need to be made.
And Longshot really had the job of babysitting the Vivian, and now with Bitey on the Zen, it's not the same thing, because Bitey's going to very much do his own thing.
The bird has left the nest.
Exactly, and so now is he babysitting Toa on the Cassia, or is he just kind of doing his own thing, which is going to put more pressure onto Longshot? That's for sure. Bitey, getting into the angles, and he tries to go for the support, you could tell, but he goes for poison, unfortunately, and that's just a mistake. He hoped for the support. But now because he went for the damage dealer, the support can keep the damage dealer alive. It's the worst version of that.
Well, they got Stigma and Poison. A very slow flank, too. Grumpy Bomb just goes off the side of the map. He does track down Bitey, though. Oh, almost one bomb would have been enough to take down Cassie there. Hook follow-up.
Nice.
It's good for the tune of a couple. Toes got to hit these shots. He had a small little window there onto. And now that window is firmly slammed shut.
Yeah. But it's still, you know, a little bit of a better adjustment, I'll say that. And you could tell that if Bitey gets T-Mac there, it could be a different story for sure with the support going down that early. Taking a big risk, that's something that they've been known to do. The shield is broken, though, so Longshot knows he is not long for this world. Sigma helps clean him up as well. Tay going to get on the action in the back line. Bitey into the Billow, which is That's the best the build is going to be for a long time now, Paladins, as it's getting its nerfs in the next coming patches.
Why he looks like he's running not much billow speed, though. He's not a very conventional player. I'd like to take a look at Zin's loadout when he does respawn.
Well, actually, yeah. Maybe he just couldn't decide where he wanted to go, so he just was kind of like back and forth a
He
little
feels
bit.
very slow to me.
Yeah.
Even after seeing that, I'm still like, I don't know. He feels so slow.
You know what he's not running a lot of? His hideout, really. 0.8's relatively low amount of hideout. Usually it's like, 0.2, 1.2, 1.4.
Yeah.
The 1.8s, that's the hideout 5. That's the real country's in hours. But he's got a lot of world distance, Nick. And you play a lot of world, the 40%. Is he really just trying to go for those deep flanks?
Yeah, it's to help you clear gaps. I was honestly surprised. I was looking for Wildfire too. That's one that Bitey, he runs it in casuals. I love it in casuals. It's super fun. Too much lockdown here. I don't see how you don't get exploded in this fight. And somehow Bitey lives after getting chain stunned and feared.
And hooked. That was everything. And they still didn't kill him? Oh my God.
I
And
guess they
Bitey-
killed all of his teammates. He is the last one left alive.
Yeah, that helped. And Bitey going for these spites, man, it feels zen, man, when you just use your ultimate.
Well, that's a lot of
Able
people.
to
A lot of
slap
people,
at you.
instead of needing a long distance whirl, they just do that instead.
Right.
Because Spite doesn't apply cauterize or things like that. It's very low DPS.
Right.
That's why you saw Poison would have lived, but he got healed through it. So he gets kicked out of that Spite at like 60% HP, and it's not a
Crazy.
big deal for him.
Really weird stuff. I mean, especially when you look at the concept around like how 4-0 it was for BOORK and then how 4-0 it was for Nation of Power. Obviously, the Vivian ban made a difference, but what is going to I mean, are BOORK really at a position to, potentially compete with these guys?
They got caught very off guard in game number 1,
Yeah.
and unless something like that happens, it is going to be a little bit of a struggle. I did vote for BOORK here, but I wasn't expecting them to just hard stomp out Nation of Power. What we were talking about earlier with Ferocity, Nation of Power are the guys who were like, this is the change we want to make. We are taking these players to make our roster better.
Right.
So it was very surprising, albeit, to see that type of a stomp here, and BOORK have a long road ahead of them for sure.
Well, it'll be interesting. The set gets more and more exciting as the games progress. Let's send it back to the desk and get us ready for Game 3.
A couple back-to-back 4-0s to start off this set. No 3-0 here for either team, which is the first time we'll have seen that today. And Nation of Power answer back, an eye for an eye in this one. A clean 4-0, a clean 4-0. You give Stigma the Kinessa. You give Bitey the Zen on the other side. But I think we'll see the stats here. I think the Kinessa and Poison on the Bomb King, that's just too much offensive power to overcome.
Leagues ahead of the next top damage that came out of, or any of the top damage that came out of BOORK.
Couple 12
2 and 5 for both of them.
Yep.
But you can see Stigma got more credits, so Poison, step up the game. 40 more credits. He
is
was
feeding.
lacking.
He is feeding.
Or he bought his team a nice $40 dinner.
40
credit dinner.
40
Sorry.
credit dinner.
I don't
can
know
you
what the credit to dollar conversion rate is, so I don't want to get that messed up.
Well, we know that one roll of Rejuve tape is, what was it, 30 credits or
That's
whatever
a good
it was.
question. I don't know. I know how much Rejuvenate costs. And the end of that infomercial was definitely showcasing Rejuvenate.
Right. That's
But
true.
Rejuve tape we've used for more. I mean, we have some, here over on the desk, we have some
Marks or
Rejuve tape,
Rejuve tape,
pretty much anywhere.
Got it when we need
Not
it.
still on my car, or Nick's car, depending on which one you want to look at. Mine was the worst. I saw a lot of confusion about that. Mine's not the nice car. Mine's
Right.
the crappy,
Nah.
I guess dad-looking car.
It gets you from point A to point B.
When I
That's what
bought it, my
matters.
little sister was just like, "You now have an adult car."
It pushes the payload. It gets you there. It moves you. But needing some Rejuve tape or BOORK now after a clean 4-0 on the opposite
Yes.
side. You give Stigma the Kinessa. That's kind of what we've seen in the past. Obviously, Poison, you saw him there on the damage charts. 12, 2, and 5 for both of them. But that kind of raises the question on, do we keep allowing that to happen? Because you normally don't see a Kinessa on Warder's Gate. You normally don't see a Kinessa on Brightmarsh, but we saw it anyway.
Yeah.
But Stigma showing us that he can really make that champion work wherever. They banned out the Vivian from Bitey. Potentially some play coming out here for BOORK banning one way or the other. Brightmarsh is going to be map number 3, so certainly in the books for Kinessa here, if they choose to go that route.
I mean, we saw Ferocity still run it, even though they were lacking in having Stigma.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Stigma maybe brings that over to Nation of Power to try and pick that up.
Right.
But I mean, I'm looking at him and Poison. Again, they were the names that I really mentioned coming into today. And the main note that I took from last map was just Poison and Stigma lay the smackdown. Like, that's the only way I could think to word it.
Well, that's fair.
I think they both left that first round at 6-1. And then I guess since they were 12-2 each,
6-1.
they were
back
6-1 twice in a row.
The uneven would be the assists, so they had to do 2 and 3, or I guess it could have done 4 and 1, but that's all besides the point. 12-2 for them last game. Makoa still going to come out here for BOORK. Cassie instead getting flipped over to the opposite side here. Nation of Power going to pick her up. That's a first pick. Cassie, obviously high priority going on to her. They'll have their second pick here. It is going to be the Barrack. So they show their hand early. They show the Cassie, but such a high priority champion like that, not surprising seeing come out this early.
I mean, she's picked up here because BOORK, if they get her and Makoa, it's too strong. And she's a really good, again, not a direct counter to Makoa, but Big Game Cassie is going to at least help eat through that health. Something that we actually got to talk about, like if you watch the update notes last week, there was a small change like Debilitate Sky that's going to be coming through, and it's just like the concept of a lot of that is with Big Game Cassie with the Debilitate on Sky is you need something to keep these front lines in check. Otherwise, Makoa is just going to run rampant. So having that ability to burn them down just gives your team a little bit more of an edge.
And they get the Genos as well. Instead of going over to Stigma, we're actually going to see the Kinessa going on to the side of BOORK. So depending on who that goes on to, it'll be an interesting Kinessa to watch. Maldamba and Ash as well, rounding out 3 and 4 here for BOORK. Excuse me, 5 coming out is now Eevee. So they're top to bottom locked in. Nation of Power looking for a little more offensive power, potentially, to round out their lineup, unless they want to go triple tank, which...
That's what I wanted to see. That's what I was sitting around, because, I mean,
it is.
Stigma has played the Kinessa on this map. Stigma knows what keeps Kinessa safe on this map.
True.
I feel like BOORK grabbed that because they're afraid of what Stigma can do. They get the Eevee, they can look good with it, but Androx is going to be hunting her down every step of the way.
Well, there's some high-powered champions on either team that you have to look out for. Both teams have also found themselves a 4-0 here. The difference maker is going to be Bright Marsh. Let's send it down to Nick and Evan to get things underway.
Thanks, guys. Excited to be casting this one. Nick is lasered in, locked in, focused, ready to go here.
You're over there.
Nick didn't even realize I'm actually in a different location in the room.
He's teleporting, guys. Help.
And it's one of my secret powers here. Great game we got going on for us, and I'm excited to get this started. How do you feel about the Androxus? I'd assume on Edgem.
What? Edgem played last set, dingus.
Just kidding.
It's Stigma. He's playing fisticuffs, though. That's exciting.
Well, Stigma is a very, very good Androxus player as far as the hit scan registration. And Bitey trying to do a little bit of the old Stigma Bright Marsh. And Stigma's like, I kind of know how this goes. And there's a reason we swapped this roster for me to be in it and do these things, but the long shot with a beautiful hook kind of shut down his aggression and keep Toa alive.
Not gonna lie, I kind of wanted Toa to get hit with that punch.
Just for the vibe.
Just for the meme.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been a play. Poison, oh my.
Good shots.
6 a couple cross the map. That's one of the longer sight lines on Bright Marsh you're gonna get. And he finds a home for it. Nation of Power 63%. BOORK climbing their way up.
At this point, Vayne going to just create a little bit more space on this left side. Force Ruckus. Poison back. That was a big shot as well. I believe that came from Toa. Now Poison has to retreat, and that has really clumped them up for Vayne. And I don't know if this is going to be the smartest flank.
Ooh.
Nation of Power grabbing the objective. Meanwhile, Vayne having his own different idea of the pace of this fight.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you have an opportunity to kind of continue to blast 3
Looks good
clumped
from
up
his
people.
POV.
It definitely does. It's kind of the rest of the squad. Hopefully that can step up there, and nobody having the best point front line here, but Barrique, Magnifique, he finds a way to weasel his way on there and steal it away.
Good hook there onto the Ruckus, and the body blocks attempting at least. Stigma holding through the reversal. He's going to just ward off any pressure into the hallway. And now Longshot's in trouble. He just got hit with Poison in the big game. Now the punch is going to seal the deal. Stigma flying up and down and wrapping around here towards his team. This is looking pretty dangerous from Nation of Power.
be playing some games here. Finding some good poke, to be completely honest. But Stigma's constant stream of healing from Genos is just going to be a little bit too much. That poke is not exactly sticking at this early stage of the game. It is Punch Andro. I want to take a look at his loadout, though. Is he going to be running that standard punch style? No Abyssal Touch.
Yeah. Interesting. Just really prioritizing the dashes and the distance on Bright Marsh, because you can get up onto some of these ledges here, but a nice Ice Storm there from Toa. It's going to shut down any movement that he had planned. It's really going to be a very hard matchup for him to win, but if he can, it's going to be everything for BOORK.
60 seconds on the clock now, Toa.
60 seconds on the
Clock. I got 60 seconds to say it away.
He only got 60 seconds to push the pedal.
60 seconds is a lot more time than they had in that song.
Well, they had 4 minutes.
Oh, never mind.
It's about 25% of the time. But it was, you know.
The pressure's on.
Pressure is on. 4 minutes to win this game, that would be like a hard thing to do. Not sure if it's even mathematically possible.
Not unless you don't count mid-round time.
Exactly. Mid-round time. Nice headshots there. No time whatsoever.
Hooking a Barrett. Hunker down.
Hunker down.
Uh-oh.
Stay a while. And Barrett absolutely inviting some of the pressure that he's been getting. It's been hard for BOORK to find their rhythm like they did in that first 4-0 on Stone Keep. Nation of Power have been all about this progress, and Bitey has not found much success here on this Kinessa. Stigma's been hunting them down.
Well, the big thing is people are only doing it when there's no flankers in play, and I think Nation of Power pull a fast one on BOORK, just as BOORK did game number 1. They pull out the Androxus, a very uncommonly seen flank nowadays, sad as that is. And they're just putting pressure on it, and it's not getting obliterated, but it is sitting about middle of the road. And the whole theme of Kinessa on Bright Marsh is that if it can't be dove, then it can do good work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you see Tyra.
But what if we did dive it?
Exactly. If this was a Tyra instead, or a Leon, you know, something like that where you'd feel like, oh, there's no way they're going to be able to burst into our back line too frequently. Then, yeah, but Stigma's got so much, and this is maybe why he's going for this loadout as well, just the ability to have the distance and the speed on the dashes, that extra bit of getting to Bitey ever so slightly faster than he might have without this. Toa and him kind of doing the exact same thing.
But the unicorn skin gives him away.
Yeah, that's true. Skin disadvantage there, dude.
Pay to lose. Synergy is important, kids. That's why I teach it.
Big headshot there. Can't quite clean anything up. That would have been it. Missed the first peek. Caught him on the second. If he had hit all three, might have been a dead Barrack. Definitely finds that one on the Stigma, though. So this is Bitey changing the game, taking the different angles, and he is looking good doing it.
Finds a nice one on Genos as well, but Genos is so far back from this fight.
Hey,
Another
Bitey.
jumping shot.
Oh, no!
T-Mac goes snipe for snipe.
And he just got too excited, man. You could tell. He saw it when he unzoomed and then went back to zoom and realized, oh, wait, no, what did I just see? There's a shark in the water. T-Mac caught him looking.
Nice emitter cooldown here, keeping this Ruckus very, very healthy. He's going to try to keep the pursuit up. Ice Storm is ready to go, soaring away, though. Pretty defensive. BOORK have some ultimates to play with here. I shut this down. I think he wants the Ice Storm.
I don't know if you take this
Links
1v1.
back. Tough stuff. Bitey's looking for it as well. If this lands, it's going to be trouble.
Don't make it a 1v1. Get over there. Help support. I mean, I like the aggressiveness, but there's no reason you should do that. And Nation of Power capture it again. It just feels like
so distracting.
The min-max of these moments is just going the way of Nation of Power. And BOORK, however, having some decent opportunities to maybe switch things in their favor.
That's stuff that comes with time, just being able to handle those situations under pressure when you don't have a lot of time to make mistakes. Things like that take them out mid-flight as well. They're rolling. That's Nation of Power squad looking very, very finely tuned at the moment.
Uh-oh. This is kind of a rough spot, isn't it? 1800 headshot. Bitey sends him home. And Bitey's been hitting his shots. It really was that one moment that took him out from the Genos through time and space, and that's something that I think if you could defend here can give you confidence. How often are you going to have to count on a Genos through time and space to get the results you're wanting in a point fight? If that's something you have to do, then it's not a great point fight.
Wow. A lot of value here for Vayne. Multi-stun, gets an assassination, and gets out clean.
On the support, too.
Great stuff there from Vayne. Basically, can't draw it up any cleaner than that. Ash going to be seeing pretty substantial HP nerf in the next patch as well. Curious to see how that will affect her. She hasn't been super brawly, super, you know, it's always nice to have more health, but that ultimate, as long as it still does what it does, big AoE stun, 8 seconds of damage immunity as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think she'll still have a place.
Still have a place for sure. I think less of the first.
She's
big
already not
must-have.
banned, you
Yeah,
know, so
yeah.
she'll make it.
She started out this meta kind of as like, is she in that ban position? But turns out, you know, not quite. Very good player, very good champion though. The problem is just the pressure. I think right here you have 2 aggressive frontline takes. No one's really able to contend with the sustain, the dome shield, just the shields, the resets that the BOORK is able to hold all of them accountable to.
Ooh.
Good shots there though by Aspect and Bitey. He contributed a ton of that damage. And this is getting closer and closer to a hold. Only 35 seconds left.
Glad that he got the follow-up there. I think Stigma's been a big problem if he is allowed to control and get up on that high ground. That's a big problem for them. So thankfully the follow-up does come off the back of the fear. The right call. It's just a matter of, that's where like flooding your comms might come into play, right? If Aspect can't get there or the word in edgewise that he is feared of this Androxus and is trying to take him down, that could have been a big problem if he stayed alive there, got his resets, and got back up into the air.
Yeah, and I think right here, one of the big things is like, is this Accursed Arm going to change things for Bitey? He's going to have to move. He's not going to get hit by this. So that was an ultimate that did not get the value that they were hoping for. Bought a little bit of time, and there's a big hook, though. If this gets the ruckus, I think it could be GG. And he knows he needs to get it, but he misses. Oh, clutch shots, and this is the thing. When you hinge your gameplay on a Kinessa, you got to hit your shots sometimes. Contesting still, overtime ticking away. And this one is almost a push and game over, and almost a defense.
One on the BOORK in the back line, finds it
That'll
again,
do.
and that will put an end to it. BOORK defends successfully. One final blast from Kinessa's rifle. 6 and 5 for Bitey will put him back into positive territory. Here's his loadout for any of y'all that were curious. Steady aim, brings up the value on True Grit, stuff like that. A lot of wiggle room on Kinessa. You can do it a lot of different ways, kind of like Andro. You can do it a lot of different ways depending on what you want, what your goals are.
Yeah, I definitely like True Grit. I've been running this style. I don't really have a reconfigure, but you know, there's a lot of the scope speed, and then just the sustain, especially if you can, you know, get poked and then come back out. He has direct pressure though, so that True Grit's not going to be the most impactful, like it would be maybe on a Serpent Beach where he's getting some long range poke and then just poking back. He'll win that trade, but really last round we saw Team Matt get the kill on the Bitey. If he can repeat, could be GG, but if he can't, and Bitey keeps going, this could be trouble for Nation of Power.
Spotted out. No ultimate as well.
Never
Team Matt
mind.
caught looking. Bitey gets taken down by the time and space yet again. 37% on Ancient Rage as well. It's going to come down to a good Ice Storm and a good Dread Serpent here. BOORK do not have a lot of resources to play with in this last round.
But I do like the fact that it happened so quickly and so early. I think they just need to force out a Dome Shield or at least some of the cooldowns of Rocket Boots faster, if possible. It's just not going to be enough. They almost got him.
And
They
the
did
Ice
not
Storm,
get the Ice Storm. At least they're going to get him here. But they don't have anything to retake.
Oh, that's
Unfortunately.
catastrophic
No
failure.
Ancient Rage or anything like that. It's just been these little min-max moments that haven't gone the way of BOORK. But a much more contested set than we would have thought for sure. BOORK showing that they have the skills, and at long shot, a nice addition to this roster. Still have to work out some of the small things, though.
And the dash distance, too. I mean, what a way. He just kind of dabs out of the way of the Dread Serpent. That's a great way to look.
That's what it's all about, man.
You think we
Androxus.
could do a jumping kick dab on camera?
One day, my friend. I don't know if I have the room to land. I don't have the room to land here. But let's
Another
send
torn
it-
Achilles, dude.
Exactly.
Feels good, man.
Yeah, seriously. Well, let's send it back to the desk. Things are looking good for Nation of Power so far.
Thank you, guys. Things are definitely looking really good here for Nation of Power. Unfortunately, the Kinessa not working out in the same way they maybe would have hoped for on the side of BOORK. Bitey was actually hitting a lot of his shots really well. He was actually playing the Kinessa not too bad, but on the opposite side, you had to worry about an Andro.
Yeah.
You had to worry about a lot of different things on the side of Nation of Power, and as such, they come up with the win.
And it came down to one thing and one thing only. They drafted it too early. They grabbed
Yeah.
Kinessa. It was Makoa Kinessa. It's
Right.
like, okay, well, you're on Bright Marsh. Everyone kind of,
Right.
like, you've shown your hand. Everyone knows where you're going now.
Right.
And so Nation of Power just kind of played with them for
Said,
the rest of the
"Congratulations,
cool,
you played
We're
yourself."
just going to save our flank for the
Right.
very end so you
Right.
can't counter our flank.
Right.
And we'll still find the counter. And Andro just hit harder for the most part. I mean, you can see Bitey was able to do 62,000 damage, actually going
Yeah.
to be almost the top, not quite going to be able to beat out Taylor Poison on the other side, but
Yeah,
Stigma
Poison,
just had his number.
Poison at 100,000 damage. So 40,000 with some change higher than the
Just
next
a
closest
little
person.
bit. Just a drop.
Certainly making his presence felt And a lot of that, again, is kind of, we talk about this with Cassie in general. She's such a high priority pick, and he was really showing us why in that it's so easy to kind of forget about the Cassie. You have the Andro who's up in your face and dashing around and punching you and getting all up in your grill, and then you just have the quiet, calm Cassie who's just staying back, just pouring out damage. And Nation of Power were happy to make those picks. It all worked out in their favor.
Yeah, and it was smooth. Like, it was borderline 4-0.
Yeah.
Like, there was a point where it's just, if Bitey misses even just one more shot at the
Right.
very end there, that payload goes in, it's 4-0. He hits that shot, so it pushes it a little longer, but unfortunately, the thing that was causing them trouble wasn't a thing that you can think, okay, from round to round, how do we solve this problem? Like, how do you solve the problem of the Androxus? That's a drafting thing. You have to go
Right.
back and say, we either don't pick Kinessa until later, or we pick Kinessa knowing, like, what we need to take away
Right.
in order to make this work. And Androxus coming through just made it way harder on Bitey, I think, than anybody else.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, I think you could have taken, if you take the Kinessa last, if it still makes sense. I mean, Bitey actually showed that on a lineup like that, actually might have had a pretty good impact. Just didn't work out their way in that one. They are going to take us to Serpent Beach here, though, to try to answer back. It is their pick. So Serpent Beach is going to be map number 4 here. BOORK looking to answer back, looking to get back into those 4-0 ways. Picks and bans now. They did not quite go their way last time. So we'll see how they answer back here. They just say, I don't want to pick it. I don't want you to have it. I just don't want to deal with it.
I was just
Away
about
goes the
to go
Kinessa.
into this whole
The Vivian as
Kinessa
well.
spiel. I was so prepared for it. I was like, this. These are the things I'm going to say about Kinessa, and then they just get rid of her.
I would let you just go into it, but it does not mean
It
anything.
literally means nothing. You know,
Means
if
nothing.
you pick Kinessa here,
Right.
what you need to be worried about is a flank, which is
Right.
exactly what I would have said last time. But you can't pick Kinessa. If you pick Strix here, I'll just use another
There we
sniper.
go.
You have to be worried about a flank.
That's
but
true, I
Strix isn't as good as Kinessa on this map, so what are you doing?
Not picking a sniper, it sounds like. Leon is probably the most snipery we'll get in this one. The first pick, Cassie, does come out again, which I'm not surprised to see. Poison made it work last game, made it work this game, really showing where their priorities are. They say, if we can get Poison on this Cassie and he can do 40,000 more damage than anyone else, it's going to work out well in our favor. So I think they're very happy to take that.
I mean, being able to grab this, a lot of point capture, a lot of point control, and, I mean, again, 100,000 damage last game where no one was really looking at him. Everyone was just kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, Poison's here. Stigma was kind of always in the forefront, always causing more trouble. But Victor, Maldamba, maybe a little bit more range coming through. I think Vivian Victor, as weird as it is to say it, I feel like those fit perfectly into Bitey's wheelhouse.
So much
I think he can. I mean, the Victor, the play style obviously has its intricacies, maybe a little bit different. But putting him on that Victor, obviously he's comfortable there. Oh wait, we forgot Torvald has gone, and Genos, and Cassie. Oh no! Wait, we talked about this. That's
dangerous.
We talked about this in the console league yesterday. We're like, all right, well, now that people are starting to ban out other stuff, do you see a Genos Torvald coming out? And I forgot who it was. We're like, no, that would never happen. Like the odds.
I think that was me. I think I was the one saying there's no way. Like I think I put all three of them together. I said there's no way that someone's going to get Torvald, Genos, Tyra. Because if you get all three damage amp on the same side, that's too much.
That's right.
But you know what else is too much? Torvald and anything.
Yeah. Well, they got it with the Cassie. You have a Nara Bomb King, Makoa.
Oh, man. Oh, no. That's my analysis for this game. Oh, no.
So, I mean, you get the Damba, Makoa, and Nara, which are really high priority front lines, but wow, you go against Torvald, you go against Genos, Androxus, and Cassie. This is a high-powered Nation of Power lineup. I assume you like it. I assume you like it. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Have their work cut out. That's
the
way I want to word it.
That's a lot to deal with. You got the Genos, you got the Torvald, you got a lot of offense coming your way if you're BOORK. Looking to make it a 3-1 here as Nation of Power. Trying to stop the bleeding here is BOORK, but they got a lot to go up against. Let's send it down on to Nick and Evan to tell us how it goes.
Trying to stop the bleeding, but the wound may just be lethal already. It is a very dangerous composition here. Stigma, Tay, Poison, Jay, and T-Mac have put together the Luminary, the big game, the Torvald field study, the Androxus punch. Oh, God, that is going to hurt even more.
Yeah, I mean, with big game being the way it is and the spot it is and damage amp being more readily available, it's easier to let Makoa go as a first pick nowadays. I feel like it's just easier to blow that guy up on a percentage basis.
Yeah, and what's amazing is that neither, Nation Power or BOORK picked Torvald in their second phase. Torvald's picked up in the third phase of picking for Nation of Power, the second place team. Very interesting draft style. You would only assume BOORK just felt confident in being able to handle it. And so far, it actually has shifted their way, 36% and counting. It seems like Edgem has been getting the majority of the bubbles here. But right now, they have not really been able to find the answers. But there's a hook, and here is a reversal. Can he get out alive? If he can, the bubble will bridge the gap.
I like it. Big damage. I think BOORK actually played that really nicely, though, despite ending up losing. And it's only a matter of time with a fully charged Defiant Fist with all that damage amp coming out. I mean, it's tough stuff there. You could see just the punch landed in like one bolt from Poison was enough to kill Bomb King, one of the higher HP damage characters out there in the business. These reversals are landing as
I don't know
well.
about that.
Overzealous. Torvald almost covers it up.
I mean,
And
why?
it's still an even trade.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why dive in on that. It seemed like I like the aggression, maybe wanted to keep them there. They already had the point covered, and maybe that's why. Just they wanted to say,
Have you
let's...
considered for the culture?
Yeah, for the culture. Maybe that's what it is. It could be for the culture. And
Stigma
1-0.
seems like a man of culture.
He does. 1-0. So far, so good.
Poison, look behind you.
Uh-oh. Ah, the wall is there.
You're trapped in here with me.
Get a little blast
What
shot
if Inara
handling.
talked like that?
You try. I would be
The
like...
humanoid Inara skin, too, just has this, like, very, deep, tethered lady voice.
Absolutely. That would be very interesting. Be a very interesting choice. And, I'll leave that to the art team to figure out. Yeah. Or the voice pack person. As, Paladins getting all creative in all their different ways. I mean, it is fantasy, and so it's one of the cool things about this universe. You can do things that are...
As the big teddy bear reloads his yarn
As
ball
the big
cannon.
teddy...
It's all fantasy.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
Hey, come here.
This is real. Real shit's here, brother.
Real stuff. This is the real world.
This ain't no game.
This ain't no game, player. This ain't no make believe. That's exactly what it is. And right now, things are just rolling smoothly, man. I mean, there's a fight happening. I like this. There's some resistance being put up for sure, but waiting for the bubble you can expect. And he says, I don't need it. You're about 3 seconds too late. I'm still going to get the kill.
My goodness, nowhere for Buddy to go in that instance. And all these reversals are landing. Really good job there from Stigma. Keep his mobility nice and high. It's one of the things about Andro. If you don't slow him down, it can really become a big problem for you. 2 shots puts Toa at half HP, and now he's just so worried.
Oh, I like that.
A nice peel there, certainly from long shot. The only thing keeping them going.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, would have been bad if Poison went down. But Stigma and everybody very confident. I think this Androxus is kind of like the same way that Vivian kind of surprised and really threw Nation Power off for a loop. The same thing is happening with Stigma's Androxus for BOORK. They just don't really know how to deal with it. They feel very disconnected, disjointed in the way they're approaching these fights. Still time, though. 15 seconds remaining here on the defense. Stigma gets into the back line, and here's the issue. How do you deal with it?
Because he's here. Everyone's going to creep up from the front side now.
Oh,
Finding more damage, gets a bubble. Misses some shots, though. Now in pursuit. This Makoa is just all over him right now, and that's really one of the best answers. Dredge goes through reversal.
Yep.
Not a lot of other ways to deal with it here. Longshot has got to be the guy.
Yeah, and he knows that, so there's really no reason to throw the reversal up here. He just uses the cooldown already, and
tough.
now the Ancient Rage to survive. Longshot, not what he wanted off of that one.
And he dropped.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but they get the defense, and I guess if you can call it one ult for a defense, BOORK would trade it right now.
That's all right.
Because they are down, and they need a win to tie things up.
If you're content to pop an Ancient Rage to get a push through and get a point on the board, an additional point, you can pop it for a defense there. I don't mind any ultimate popped to get a physical point on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Just to extend the game that much further along.
I mean,
go ahead.
no, I was just going to say also just this Torvald isn't not like that crazy right now,
No.
And I think Stigma's playing it great, but it's not the Koga kind of level of like, okay, well, there's really nothing you can do against this. BOORK are disjointed, but they seem to be managing it pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, Andro is a hard character. It is not. It's much harder than hitting Koga claw shots, even after the nerf, right? The reason Koga was such a big problem in my eyes is just because those auto attacks are so easy to hit, and they hit harder than Androxus autos do, as well as going further. But it's still the same kind of problem. If it gets off the leash, if you start to roll with a Torvald behind you, the only chance you have is in that 5v5.
Exactly. And definitely with an Androxus, too, I think the snowball of him, we don't see him often, but him and Eevee and, you know, sometimes a Cassia, definitely the exaction Cassies of old, you know, when you got 1 or 2 kills and they were then left without any pressure, they would just end the fight more, you know, faster and more efficiently than almost any other champion because you just can't kill them, you can't catch them, you don't have the time to, and they just do so much damage.
Andrew's got 3 dashes, Eevee's got the blink and the sword. Koga has virtually unlimited just agility sprint, right? So he can really do a good job keeping up with you, chasing people down, sticking to the problem. But now it's time for BOORK to pop their ultimates. Barrage is ready to go as well. Dome Shield.
Interesting.
Trying to hold on here for Nation of Power so they don't lose too much map control.
But the thing is, they all pulled back pretty far. I mean, I know that he's got his support right there, and I think that's it because he trusts, you know, the Damba and the performance. But he didn't pull back very far, and they kept him very isolated. And again, he's isolated. Look at the defensive utility BOORK has. I mean, the shield, the dash, the dome shield, another dash. It's crazy. But BOORK had played this point fight very nicely. I think Nation of Power would have been better off fully withdrawing there and attacking from maybe both sides instead of the main channel.
Pretty surprised that BOORK does live there. He Torvald just walking down. That kills me, man. I love it. Sometimes that's the best way to do it. When you're not going to get out, the best use of your remaining life is to just contest the payload, hold it there for a couple seconds. You never know what a couple seconds could do down the stretch.
And big ups to Toa for taking on this matchup, not being afraid at all of this Torvald, and just saying this is the stuff that we got to do. We let this off the leash. I got my BK. I trust in it. And the biggest thing is that they took the BK away. I mean, maybe this wasn't intended to be an Androxus. You know, I mean, Bomb King might nearly be unstoppable here. Just the amount of raw health that would have provided him.
As the dash needs to get out, but wants to go back in. One more to do it. Longshot has been all over Stigma as well. A lot of hooks. Peel for his teammates.
Good play.
One of the few frontline characters that can hard peel like this. Stigma will weave his way into the backline and get it done.
And that's the right trade. He wants to go for the support, trade his life. That's fine. And however, it is still going to get the result that he wanted, which is them having to pull back. They don't have the sustain.
I mean, Longshot pulled back there. If you're Stigma, you got to use that. You got to realize this guy is literally just walking at me no matter where I go. Let me just pull him away from a useful spot on the map.
Yep.
Now I'm going to do some weird dive. He's going to try and follow me. As quick as it came, it went. Toa onto the high ground, off the high ground.
Yeah, and you could tell. I mean, in his POV, he sees Stigma for about 0.7 seconds and he's dead. That's the lethality that this is providing. Bitey on the Victor doing a bunch of damage, but he's been relatively quiet for me.
Maybe it's a good thing Punch Andrew never came into the meta.
Yeah.
That doesn't look super fun to play against.
No, not at all.
Sorry, all my late night onslaught queues.
I know. I had to have a couple of moments with Punch Andrew because it is the resets. It just feels so good, the fluidity. But no longer. No longer. Bringing it back from the old days. We'll see if it stays. Right now, though, 954 is the number that they care about. Vayne getting hit from afar from Cassie. It's going to mitigate that going into the Earthen Guard. And Stigma will find Bitey as the front line pulls back, and I think they're just going to give this up unless Longshot wants to try to contest. It looks like he was going to try before he just died.
Gotta try before you die.
Gotta try before you die.
Clean defense there. Nothing really used. Just a lot of Torvald bubbles keeping people safe.
Tense.
Out of harm's way. What'd you say?
Tense.
Ah. I thought you said something else. Never mind. 0-5 here for the frontline Nation of Power. Struggling a little bit. Low mobility against Victor. Not a good way to go. Bitey's having his way. He's getting the opportunity, and as this record comes online more and more, let's see if he's hit record 3 yet. He has. It's going to be big trouble for BOORK. A lot of his utility, and a lot of Torvald's utility as well. Toe's gone for the record 3 as well. Stigma's got to be aware of this.
Yeah.
Has been able to get kills, though, without Torvald bubbles, so he'll be all right.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I mean, at this point, you're really looking at just Stigma being a good Androxus. The bubble comes or it doesn't, but you're really looking at that. Poison, he's really going to be the one that probably, as far as damage output in a moment, a big game disengage, Torvald bubble into a couple of shots is probably going to be the worst amount of burst you can have. This time, he doesn't get a couple kills with it. and he doesn't create the same amount of space. And Vayne gets 33% during that, and he's going to make it out alive, at least for now. I like the idea of the seismic crash. He can't quite find the stun. And here's the Dome Shield. It's going to buy them some comparative time, but they're going to back off. I don't know where the pressure's coming from. It's the King Bomb they were worried about. And Toa's actually going to cancel that one out as well.
Doesn't hit anyone with the crash, but he was probably dead if he didn't use it anyway, and it buys them time to get the full HP reset as well. Longshot kind of doing the same thing.
Just holding.
Buying time,
Nice.
buying time, buying time. 90% and climbing. 3 more ticks, and it's theirs.
Oh, and he doesn't want to try and test this. Nice reset of the shell spin. But this damage right now from Poison is going to be very hard to contest. And that's going to be a double kill. He is the one you did not want to let off the leash. He gets the bubble as well. Long shot. Say what's up to some short shots right there that are going to finish you off. 36%. But now a better, hopefully, just retraction of this fight from BOORK. Bitey's still getting caught up in it. Hits a couple of good shots and maybe forces Stigma into a position he doesn't want to be. The second ult of this round.
The second ult that will miss here. Hyper Beam is still ready. Don't know what that's really going to be good for. Nice angle on Inara at this point. Throws at the wall. Wants this kill.
Oh, didn't get it.
Did he get the punch? I don't know. The damage reduction is a lot there. T-Mac, though, will get kill credit. Tough stuff here. BOORK stealing away? What do you mean?
Long shot. He went in for the long shot, and he got it.
Easy for the boy.
From downtown, he sneaks in the Thief in the Night of Serpent Beach.
You got to see a replay of that.
We need to.
That was
Freaking
crazy.
out.
I mean,
Surely he won't capture this point, they're saying. Surely.
it's tough.
Surely we've done enough.
That's Chronix against QG at DreamHack
Yeah.
level of like, man now.
Come on now. But it's just, it's not that BOORK played that point poorly. I mean, I think you see Stigma not get any kills off of 2 Androx's ults. You see a Dome Shield that they have to pull back from because of the King Bomb. But the King Bomb that's canceled, it doesn't really get value. You see a Barrage that hits once, but then they pull back behind the ledge. See a Hyper Beam that wasn't used at all. No through time and space, really. You know, Poison has a couple of moments, but then he dies as well. Or actually doesn't die earlier at all in that point fight. But there's just like both of them not really making it happen. I mean, it just kind of was like luck of the draw. All right, you guys missed enough ults.
Yeah.
At this point, just why don't you take it?
A big thing for a lot of Torvald players is not getting too tunnel vision, right? Bubbles onto Poison were a good idea there. Everyone's just looking at Stigma. Everyone's picked up Wrecker to try and deal with Stigma getting these bubbles, but, you know, if it's Makoa diving this Cassie, give her a bubble, and she's going to absolutely tear him to pieces.
This big almost got the kill, and he can't get the high ground either. Oh, Poison is running riot here in the back line, and 16 streak for him, Nick. This
It's
is
just
such
started to give him bubbles now.
I mean, I think it's a smarter move, to be honest.
Yeah. That's a big part, again, of Torvald is who really needs it at this moment. Could be a frontliner. Could be your support.
Yep.
It's not always the flanker every single time.
Unless it's like, you know,
The guy who's got the
Kobe
angle.
Yeah. Then you just bubble the Kobe and just say, okay, I'm going to sit back and watch.
Yeah. It's a fine line.
It is.
I don't pretend to always know where it is, but it's somewhere in there.
Oh, look at this. Bitey gets aggressed on Dread Serpent. They're going to try and get him, but he's got resilience. That's why he gets out. Aspect now wastes that big ult trying to just get a huge kill, and he may go down, but he doesn't
Other
see
way.
him. Oh, the
Other
snake
way.
does damage. The snake does damage.
Oh,
Vayne,
man.
he's going to hit him with a few pebbles from Inara's Stone Spear, and that's going to do it, at least for now. Sigma's down. They have a chance, and that means the support will be back in action as well as Bitey. And now it's actually Nation of Power who are a man down.
Eric's in a tough spot here. Running feels like a pretty high level of bowling ball there. He's getting some pretty chunky shields every time he takes off. And full sustain, full mitigation here. Has to throw it down. Things are looking dire here. Stigma does pick up a big kill on the backside of this fight.
He might hold here. I mean, you got what you wanted. You got a big dome shield out of it. But they're still going. I mean, as much pressure as you can apply, why not? Inara seems so tanky. Aspects at them, and they're going for the King Bomb. They get a double stun. Can they do anything off of it? No. If it were me, I think it would have been better for BOORK to hold off this. What are they going to do? Longshot doesn't have his ult charge yet. If he gets a few shots off now, he could get it back to 100. That would be enough, I think, for this point to be worth it, so we can have that for next round immediately. 94%. Maybe he hits one shot in total, and it's still a defense. So a King Bomb for a Dome Shield, and Bitey already doesn't have his Barrage. How do you feel?
Rough stuff there. Rough stuff. I mean, it was a blessing that they got the payload in the first place. BOORK just maybe realizing the place they're at in this spot. They were struggling in these past 2 games. They were given a real opportunity to maybe get that one there. When you get a dome shield out like that too, it almost sends a message like, ooh, okay, we really are on the ropes here.
Yeah,
we gotta
yeah,
start.
yeah.
We gotta spend some stuff here, or we're gonna find ourselves out of this game.
Can't say-
21 streak for Poison's Cassie at this point. A bigger streak than Genos is not an easy thing to do.
And Nick, if they kill him, they should get a full ult reset at this point because these are a lot of kills. They're not just eliminations that are coming through. It's going to be a huge amount of ult percentage. And if this goes to Toa, if this goes to Bitey, that could change the game if they get another King Bomb. Or maybe a
Ancient
Dread
Rage,
Serpent.
cancel it,
Hey,
kill
cancel
him.
it.
Ancient Rage again.
Exactly. Easy
Do
peasy.
it.
Lean in, squeezy, dude. 21 streak. This is getting dangerous. Poison can't not flank here. Long shot. Could be in trouble. Good shield. He didn't even know it. Who's going to get the kill? Toa King Bomb. It's back. He was at 10%, but he dies. Stigma now finding a couple of kills. Here is the seismic crash. Can he find the damage? Vayne getting low, but here's Bitey with the barrage. Can he get the kill? No. Stigma. He is juking him left and right. Great shot. Another bubble. Holy moly. The Androxus might have just won
Yeah,
this.
his movement is, he's gotten out of too many situations. When he's in the middle of 4 people that are all looking at different angles, I think that's a hyper beam kill
is.
on the point of Serpent Beach, too. That is a cherry on top. That is not something you count on.
But Nick, Ancient Rage
The King Bomb of Time.
and King Bomb.
It must be.
Who do you go for? I mean, they don't have any ults ready. You're just going to back off, see where they position. I like this. What's the Ancient Rage going for right there, though? It seemed like it was a little bit too preemptive, right? Long shot, 16, 67, thanks to Big Game. That health is going to melt, and the Dome Shield from Nation of Power. It looks like they're going to be able to clean this one up unless Bitey on Victor can 1v5.
Great set.
And he certainly can, but a great set and a great game, and man, BOORK, they came to play today.
That was by far the most entertaining set of the day.
Yeah.
Just because the picks. I mean, the picks alone make it very fun to watch. Very close.
Yeah.
A lot of high-flying, fun action to watch there. Stigma gets out of too many situations there. There's a lot of resilience on down the stretch as well, so King Bomb can't really get much done. It looked like a big, juicy one, but everyone just kind of like shrugged it off for a second and got right back in the fight.
Very unfortunate stuff for BOORK, but great opportunity to showcase some skills. I like the addition of long shot. Seems like they are improving as the weeks continue. That's what you can hope for in the PML. Let's send it back to the desk, break down the rest of the day, which is kind of ending, I guess.
It is kind of ending. Thanks, Evan. Thanks, guys.
Yes,
Great
it's-
job on the cast. It was a really good day, really entertaining day. I'm actually super bummed it went that way. I was so surprised that BOORK played as well as they did in that last game, not because of their talent at all, but because I was for sure that Torvald Genos was going to be unstoppable. But they actually did really well. They took it to 3-3. Just came up a little bit short there at the end. The picks coming out in favor of Nation of Power, but absolutely respect to BOORK for dealing with that in a really big way.
And they almost had the key to
So
potentially
close.
take that back. It's that King Bomb Ancient Rage combo at the very end.
23. Wow.
But it has to go in the perfect scenario, right?
Right.
Like it has to all fall right in the right line. Everything has to work exactly the way BOORK needed it. But they had that potential. They went
Right.
for it. I admire the fact that they made the call. But unfortunately, there was just too much going against them. Poison did too much damage. Stigma had too many kills. There was just control coming down from Nation of Power the entire time.
It was essentially the same. Obviously, the other pieces were different, but kind of the same thing that we saw on Brightmarsh, where the Androxus was able to draw so much attention, and Poison is just in the back, just
Chilling.
pouring out damage onto the rest of the team. So really making his presence felt, doing a really good job there of really playing well, utilizing his kit, utilizing the team as it was built around him. We're going to take a quick look at the NA standings here, see how these last couple games of the day affect things there. Ferocity taking first place here with a 10-game plus-minus. Nation of Power in second there, but they have the same record. Zenith and BOORK now out the bottom. Same record for them as well, 1-4. So kind of how we expected the day to go. None of the teams necessarily upsetting anyone else, but you really have to look at the Nation of Power and Ferocity matchup that we'll see, because everyone has essentially the same record up to this point. We'll take a quick look at the schedule for next week as well, see what games we have in store for ourselves. All Business Sour team starting things off, Clown Fiesta and the Hussar. So essentially all teams flipping up their opponents for today. Ferocity playing BOORK instead as our last game on Monday. Leading that off would be Zenith and Nation of Power. So maybe expect to see some of the same stuff, Tuesday next week. Maybe expecting to see some of the same storylines as we saw here this week. It's a lot of 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 type matchups. So maybe some of those 2 or 3 matchups will be a little more contested.
I'm actually most interested in how Ferocity and BOORK is going to go,
Yeah,
because I
I
feel like
agree.
if BOORK improved, so last week they get their first win.
Yeah.
This week, even though the destination ended up being the exact same place, they still lost their set. It was a lot more, it was a completely different journey than I thought. That 4-0 at the beginning, again, that's something I didn't think I was going to get to write down this split. So already they're looking really good. Ferocity, maybe stronger. Obviously, the standings say that they are, so I'm expecting BOORK maybe not to have a win in that set again, but I want to see how they fare.
No, and they found their win against Zenith as well. So they are certainly, despite losing here today, certainly have put some pieces together and look a lot better. But that is going to do it for us here today in the Paladins Minor League. It was a fun one. Lots of sets going the way we expected. We have Esports Weekly coming up for you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, followed by Thursday and Friday of the PPL. So make sure you tune in tomorrow to get everything set up for the rest of the week. Thanks again for tuning in today, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Res Studios, Evo Mojo, INAP, Steel Series, Respawn.
Woman,